they put out a list of a bunch of the federal assets they were going to sell off. Maybe about 3 weeks ago, they put that out, and then that website went down, and there were 400 some properties on it. Now there's talk maybe there's 800 that they're going to, bail out of. But I think it's a good thing. It takes underused public property, puts it into the private sector, and figure out, what can you do with this then?
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, you've probably been hearing about Doge. You've been hearing about the government unloading all of these unneeded, unused properties, even with government workers going back to the office, being forced back there. There's still tens of millions of square feet of office space that the government is disposing of, or that it's leasing and that the owners will be disposing of it. And person you're about to hear from, David Codrea. David, you specialize in buying properties with problems. Is this the kind of problem you're looking for?
That's exactly what we're looking for. Thanks for having me today. It's going to be an exciting time when they kind of make all these cuts and reposition a bunch of assets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right. So, how do you identify ones that are good as opposed to others that should just be leveled?
Well, the really, really big assets are tricky because if you got hundreds of thousands of square feet in a tower or a huge complex, that's hard to find an immediate use for. The biggest risk on any investment is time. So I'm looking for more of the smaller assets. If it's under 100,000 square feet and it's something that has decent bones to start with, that's a piece of property that you can probably convert it to something relatively quickly in the grand scheme of things without doing a big redevelopment where you got to go, build hotels or create a downtown center or any of that kind of stuff. That's kind of a huge
repurpose. How do you figure out how to repurpose them?
Most of our strategy is how do we get it to a usable size footprint that any kind of local business would want to use. If you look at some of these, especially on the government side, we've done a lot of this on office where you see old call centers that are called 50 to 100,000 square feet, and those things are gone. It's been replaced by AI or it's all overseas. So those footprints, we can pretty easily carve those up into 5,000, 15,000 square foot suites. And then we're focused on just local businesses. Everywhere you go, there's a local business that's doing, they're the ones that are doing your electrical work. They're doing your plumbing work,
right.
HVAC. Like that stuff's hard to replace. It's hard to get talent that can do it, but they all need a spot that they got to operate out of.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess with danger comes opportunity, as the Chinese like to say, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Doge they put out a list of a bunch of the federal assets they were going to sell off. Maybe about 3 weeks ago, they put that out, and then that website went down, and there were 400 some properties on it. Now there's talk maybe there's 800 that they're going to, bail out of. But I think it's a good thing. It takes underused public property, puts it into the private sector, and figure out, what can you do with this then?
So one man's garbage is another man's gold. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right.
That's been the business strategy for the past 15 years on stuff I've been working on.
This could be like the best thing that happened since the RTC, and they sold off all those properties for a song and wound up being hugely profitable.
Yeah.
So,
going all
what are you looking at? What properties are you looking at that you want to, what's your ideal situation that you're looking at here?
Yeah. For me, I focus on the Southeast, so I don't travel too far from home. I live in Atlanta, and between Atlanta and Charlotte, there's plenty of opportunity. So I'm looking for assets that are in that Southeast corridor. Those would be great. And then I like seeing stuff that has flexible zoning and a lot of parking. So if you get real tight in a city center and you've got a big vertical building, that's you got a lot of other stakeholders in that process that you're going to have to work through. And to me, that's going to take time. And that's probably the right deal for some people, just not for me. I'm looking for more, fewer like institutional stakeholders on and around my asset and something I can move on pretty quickly. So it's typically a lower rise building. It's typically a little more suburban, more industrial type feel, that kind of stuff that I can find different uses for relatively quickly.
Gotcha. So what's your time frame for taking these buildings and making them profitable or selling them?
If for the most part, it takes about 18 months. That's our kind of our go in and work with the municipality and say, hey, we got 100,000 square feet of vacant space, and I think we can divide this building up and then lease it. It takes us a couple months just to get through permitting and say, hey, what are we going to do with this thing? And sometimes the cities and municipalities are like, what are we trying to do here? It's a little intriguing on their end. But ultimately, like if the zoning aligns and it can be done, we can do the work pretty quickly, and then find new tenants and local businesses that want to use the space.
So you're looking at office buildings here. Is there flex space? Are there warehouses that you can convert?
I mean, kind of the more like known terms of that stuff. You're thinking about warehouse, and you've got 30-foot clear heights and that kind of stuff. That's not, that's like its own actual dedicated asset class. We're looking for all the stuff that's gray area and in between. It's like, is it office? Is it flex? Is it warehouse? It's like, well, depending on what you need, that's what we can turn it into whatever you want it to be. That's kind of our pitch when we're going to work with different tenants that want to occupy the space. But we can only come in at a cheaper basis because when you're buying a quasi-distressed or opportunistic deal to start with, and then then really customizing it to what they need, whether there's some office, some warehouse, some loading docks. It's really a mix of all that stuff that we can put in.
Got it. Hey, so what about the concept of the data centers and that kind of thing? Is that something, the AI centers you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, that's there. And, there's definitely a lot of interest in the world for that kind of stuff, but the price point is super high and time to do it is long, and everyone's battling over where are they going to get power supply. And there's so much interest that I kind of shy away from that stuff. Like, I want to go where it's not interesting for right now.
So that's just the trend, the flavor of the day, like Baskin Robbins, right?
Exactly. And I mean, we need them. Some big groups are doing some huge data centers, and they'll probably do phenomenally well. But that size is kind of not on my radar.
You got energy constraints there too, of course. Hey, what about converting it to housing?
It takes too long, too much zoning and permitting approvals to move things. We've done stuff in different cities where they're not necessarily interested in converting all of their commercial and office zoning areas and being like, hey, we'll just flip this on its head, our 20-year city planning we did, and say now this is all residential. Like they don't necessarily want to do that. So it's in some cases it can work. Like in downtown Atlanta, it's like, does it really matter if one office building is now residential and the building next to it is office or residential? It's probably okay. But most cities aren't going to want to just completely flip their city planning on its head.
Yeah, well, then again, if it's an empty building, but, cities make mistakes all the time. It's about their future, about redevelopment. Hey, just tell us your past. When you say you find properties with problems, tell us the property you found that had the biggest problem, and I assume the biggest upside reward.
Biggest problem. I purchased a mobile home park maybe 12 years ago or whatever, but it basically wasn't even connected to any kind of, none of the septic tanks worked. It wasn't connected to city sewer. It had a septic pond, which you can imagine what that thing actually is. So it was like, okay, we got to buy this thing and really, bring in a ton of new homes and turn around everything that was there, build out the like the actual physical infrastructure to even use the space. That was, it had a pump station to like get sewer higher. It was like, oh my gosh, that was a handful. But it was good. It ended up being a great project. It was a giant pain. It's like, who wants to actually buy this thing? So we're trying to make sure they don't get that bad. when we're buying them, because those are some definitely heavy lifts that's got to be done there. But lots of I started out in apartments too, just lots of apartments that were completely bombed out that you're like, what are we gonna do here? So
Yeah, those are always fun projects. All right, well, hey, appreciate you coming on. Tell us how we connect with you, how we find you on the web.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I've got all my information up there. My company website is there too, and my phone and email are all right up there.
Great. Hey, well, I've got a question for Dave, myself. Email kl@carrylutz.com, and you'll find a link to David's LinkedIn on our site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. All we ask when you go there is sign up for our free newsletter, like close to 75,000 of you FSN people have done already. Dave, thanks for coming by. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kerry. It was fun.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.